So good day everybody, I'm Scott Poynton and welcome to another podcast. And today I have the absolute joy, and it is a joy because I'm talking to Tina Talbot. G'day Tina, how are you?
Hi, Scott.
How are you going over there? You're in England, what's it like over there?
Do you know what? It is glorious today because the sun's shining and autumn is my favorite time of year. So I'm really happy.
You're happy.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Good on you. And where are you in the motherland?
I'm in Surrey.
I'm sorry.
Surrey.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's just lovely.
Good on you.
Really lovely.
And now listen, we're going to talk to you because you're the author of children's books, but not just any children's books.
I am.
You're the author of children's books about nature and
Yeah.
about the environment and sustainability and all of these things.
Yeah.
And I've read them and I think they're terrific. So
Oh,
so I was just thinking to myself, I need to talk to Tina. We need to do a podcast. And so here you are.
fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, look, it's my pleasure. And look, so just tell us the Tina Talbot story. How did you get to this place?
Well, okay. Well, I suppose really, and actually the reason why I'm doing this podcast as well is that I really wanted to share my voice or get my voice heard. So and the only way I could do that was through writing. So doing this podcast is just another expression of that, which is just amazing. So I'm so grateful. But how did I get here? Well, I've I suppose I used going back many years. I used to work in the city in London. I did that for about 15 years, and I hated every second of it.
What
Um,
did you do, Tina? Tell us about it, because a
well,
lot of the listeners may not know what that means, but I
yeah,
do. But let's just share. Yeah, what did you
well,
do?
it's a financial institution,
Mm,
and basically, I started off as a PA, but then I worked my way up and to become an events coordinator, which sounds really glamorous because you're traveling around the country. But when the subject is so boring to me, I really didn't enjoy it. So after 15 years, I got married, and we decided to have a baby, and I my goal has always been to be a stay-at-home mum.
hmm.
So luckily we were in the position where we could afford that. So I was so glad to get away from the city and stay at home and raise my child, which is just wonderful. But then when she went to high school, I thought, well, I want to go back to work, but I just couldn't go back to the city, and I wanted to do something caring, which is so more me. So I became a carer for the elderly, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's probably the best job that I ever did. And but then I unfortunately had a back injury.
Right.
So I couldn't do that anymore. So I was at home, and basically I couldn't do anything. So and then I suffered a depression because I felt so low and I was in so much pain.
Mm,
And the interesting thing is, because I decided because I was depressed, to get some holistic therapy. So I spoke to a trained listener or a counsellor, whatever you want to call them, and it's really interesting because what came out of it was she said that I had never my voice had never been heard, and it really resonated with me. And she said to me, you, in order to get over this depression, because although the sort of back injury was a catalyst, it really was bigger than that.
right.
And she said you have to share your voice, basically. So I started writing, and the reason of course when you want to write something, it has to come from the heart. I mean,
Yeah.
it has to, I think so. And the only sort of passion I had was nature. And I felt, and I don't know if this sounds silly, but I felt that nature was in pain, like
Right.
I was. And I felt that I had to give nature a voice, because nature can't shout and scream. So I thought, well, I'm going to do it for you because, I've been given this opportunity to learn how to express myself. So this is what I'm going to do for you. So that's why I decided to write the stories, because it basically gives nature a voice.
It sure does, and they really are great. I just think they're so different to any other kids' book that I've read. And
Yeah,
maybe just
yeah,
tell us about the thinking that we've got the daring droplets
yeah, yes. The
and
willful wildflowers.
yeah, and all the
Yeah.
flowers, and that you really bring them to life as not as not no, you don't bring them to life as humans. You bring them to life as part of nature with their own soul and their own
Yeah.
personality. And I think
Uh-huh.
in that way that you just make it so much more accessible. So for
Yeah.
for folks like me, when I go out in nature and I feel very connected to the trees and everything. I feel that
Yeah.
I also feel that they have a personality, and that,
Mm.
often people say to me, "Oh, what's that species?" And of course, for the main ones like oaks and beech, I know, but
Mm.
it's almost like I don't think of them in that way. I think of them as an individual tree, in the
Yeah.
same way that when I look at a person, I don't think, "Oh, there goes a Homo sapiens." I think,
Yeah.
"Oh, there goes Mary," or "There goes
Yeah.
Bruce," and I see the trees that way. And what I loved about your books was that you did that for the water and you did that for the flowers, and they became characters that I was talking to, and they were talking to me, and had their own fears and their own hopes and their own
Mm.
aspirations,
Yes.
and I loved it. And so how did you
Mm.
how did you get to that place? How did you come up with those
I'm
wonderful characters?
so glad you said that, because when I was doing a reading at a school, well, not recently, before lockdown,
Mm,
luckily it was raining on that day, and I was actually we were talking about the water cycle, and we were reading the Daring Droplet books, and it was just lovely because one of the characters, Dazzle, who creates or helps the sun create rainbows, a little girl suddenly pointed out the window and started screaming, saying, "There's Dazzle, there's Dazzle." And all the children looked outside the classroom, and there was this wonderful rainbow. And I just thought, well, that's exactly what I wanted. I want children to connect with these characters, so that they actually connect with nature. And then, by personifying the characters, I'm hoping that they will then fall in love with nature and then
mm.
look after it. But how it came about was when I decided that I was going to start writing, my first thought was, I'm going to write a new religion, which was really stupid, actually, thinking about it now. But based on sort of the Paleolithic era and how ancient humans would worship nature,
Mm.
and I love that concept, because I just feel we should be worshipping nature, because we are nature. We live in nature. We don't visit nature. We live in it. So of course I decided to write this wonderful new religion. And when I showed it to my cousin, who's quite a clever chap, he just said to me, "Well, this has already been done. It's." And I just thought, "Oh no, I've got to go back to the drawing board again." So I just thought, well, do you know what? I think perhaps I should start at grassroots level and work with children, because they love their characters. It was very important that these stories were very character based, because kids really do fall in love with characters in their cartoons and books and things like that. So I just decided to really bring nature to children's level, and just give them a sort of personality. And then what I decided to do was, I wanted to sort of base it on the survival rule of three. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No.
But basically, the survival rule of three is what we need to survive. So basically, we can't live, 3 minutes without air, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Is that right? Yes, that's
Something
right.
like that. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
right. That sounds about right.
And that's what I based this whole series, because I've got 3 books out, but there's going to be 10 or 12 in the series, and I've got 2 new ones coming out next year, which I'm really excited about. And so basically, I just wanted to teach children that at least if we just look out after these basic parts of nature. So look after the water, because we can't live without water. Look after the plants and the pollinators, because again, we need food. And obviously we must look after the trees, because we need the oxygen. So I think you can see where all my characters are going to play out in the next few years. So that's what I thought. But also, I'm a real geek, and I love science and history and literature, and in fact, I like all the humanities. And I wanted to bring my personality into the books as well. So they are educational, but in a very subliminal way, so the kids don't know they're learning. So basically, the Daring Droplets books are all about the water cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 2 levels. I've got the first one, which is for the younger children, and the second one, which is for the slightly older ones. The first book is about these 3 characters, these 3 droplets, Dribble, Drizzle, and Dazzle, and they decide to have a race to see which one of them can complete a water cycle first. So that's and it's quite sciencey, really,
Mm-hmm.
but in a
Yeah.
very childlike way. And then the second book is very much a historical account. And basically, I just wanted children to learn how old the water cycle is, because I love the answers I get when I go to the schools. When I ask them, how old do you think the water cycle is? And you get all sorts of different answers, like, is it a day old, or, is it a week old? And then when you tell them it's, billions of years old, they're quite astonished. And then when you tell them that the dinosaurs splashed in the same water that they're drinking in their water bottles today, they really are quite shocked. So am I talking too much?
No, you're going great. I love it. Now,
Okay.
now, this is the thing. Now, you've mentioned a couple of times. Oh, I don't want to cut that off because I think that's terrific. But I loved that, and the Daring Droplets one on the water cycle, because it really brings home that this water's been around for a long time, and it's been locked away in glaciers and in swamps and rainforests, and so
Absolutely.
really
Yes,
enjoyed
exactly.
it. But you've mentioned a couple of times this going to the schools, and
Yes.
I have the joy of following you on Instagram,
Mm.
and all of these magnificent pictures of either you reading to the kids or the kids reading your books, and sometimes the look on their faces is just fantastic. And these are little kids, aren't they? They're little,
Yeah. Yes.
I guess
They're-
5 and 6 year olds, or
Yeah, it's 5. I'd say 5 to 10. 10 being the oldest.
yeah. So tell me about that, because and look, I want to, just in case you have to go off and fetch one of the books, I'm going to ask you maybe if you could read a bit for us later. Maybe not now, but yeah, there you go. Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah.
We're ready to have a reading. But tell me about that, because it's just so interesting where you were saying that you used to go to the aged care place. So you'd go out into the world. You wouldn't sit quietly at home and write your books. You'd go out into the world and obviously maybe you weren't writing then, but you're going out and participating in life and doing something with the elderly. And now you're doing the same with your books. You're not just publishing them and putting them out into the universe. You spend a lot of your time sharing them, right, with kids.
Yeah.
In the
Very much.
community and on the schools around you. Tell me about that. Tell me about the buzz and the vibe that you get when you do that.
Oh my gosh, I just love it so much. For me, it's not. In fact, I say to when you're with children, they ask the most incredible questions.
Right.
Like, are you really rich? It's quite a common one. And the answer is, well, actually, I had one 6-year-old ask me how much I made in my last fiscal year.
Oh,
was
really?
Quite,
That one's off. That little kid's off to the city, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't want to say £12.50 because I thought it didn't sound very good. So but basically, it really is not about the money. At least not for me. I mean, every artist is different. Every artist produces work for different reasons, and for mine, it really was just connecting with children, so that they connect with nature, and that's all I want. And I just love the messages I get from the children. I love the smiles and the laughter I get in the classrooms when we read the books. I don't. That's how I like to be paid. Basically, that's what I love, and the fact that you might be making a difference. But they certainly teach me a lot as well, as I teach them. So for example, when we do the Daring Droplets 2 book, when we go back in history, I start with the Carboniferous era, and with the giant bugs, and just try and make it interesting so that they can really understand how old this water cycle is. And when I tell them that the bugs used to be as big as their teachers, they're really shocked. And then we go to the Cretaceous period, which is the last dinosaur age, and it just brings it into context. And so I love teaching them things like that, just so that they can think for themselves, really,
Right.
so that they can go out and just really appreciate how incredible nature is, and it really is a gift. I mean, we cannot take it for granted. We really can't. So I love that. And of course, when you get the response back from letters and the lovely messages, it's just incredible. I love it so much. And it's just what life is all about, really, for me, connecting with the kids, and also not just with them, but with their parents and their grandparents and their guardians and teachers as well. So it's really lovely. And I can't even remember what you asked me to begin with now.
Well, it was about this. It was exactly about that, about reading with the kids and the experience of that. And I can just feel your enthusiasm and your passion. And I think the kids must be must be blessed when Mrs. Talbot comes to read them a story, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because once I went into a classroom and there was about 150 kids, and they were all crammed into one, because it was all the year groups, and they're all sort of crammed into one room. And I had a little boy who was sitting at my feet, and he looked really sad. And I said to him, "Are you okay?" I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I thought you were going to be David Walliams." And
Well, I can be if
I
you
don't
like.
know if you've heard, yeah, exactly. And I said, "Oh well, I'm really really sorry." I said, "But I'm hoping you'll enjoy my stories anyway." And we were chatting about David Walliams's books, and then eventually he said to me, "But do you at least know David Walliams?" And I thought, oh,
No.
and luckily he did really love, he loved the book, so that was fine. But I just love, I love it when you ask the kids, right, okay, any questions about I don't know, the water cycle, and then you get all these hands go up, and then a child asks, you say yes, and the child says, "Well, it was my gerbil's birthday yesterday."
Oh, terrific.
It's just like, okay.
I mean,
It's
so
so funny. Or they put their hand up and say, "Can I go to the toilet now?" I'm like,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
It's classic, isn't it? I've done a few
Mm.
presentations to little
Yeah.
kids about the environment stuff, and
Oh,
the questions are priceless
oh,
sometimes.
I love it. But the one that I love the most is the one that they always ask when I'm there is, "How old are you?" That's the one they always ask. And when I tell them I'm in my 50s, the class or assembly or whatever just goes quiet.
Stunned
You can hear
silence.
a pin drop, and then the hands go up slowly, and it's like, "Oh, you're as old as my grandmother." I'm like, okay. And then I always do the same thing. I say to them, well, because they always ask me, "Are you going to write when you're 100?" And I'm like, "Well, I hope so."
Yeah, give me a chance.
But I always say to them, "Okay, who's heard of the character Shrek?" And of course, they've all heard of Shrek,
Mm,
and they love Shrek. And Shrek was at the time was a cutting edge character. There was nothing like Shrek before. They were all cartoons were cutesy and lovable, and very very attractive to look at. And when I explained to them that Shrek was created by an 82-year-old, they are actually really shocked. And then suddenly I don't seem so old anymore.
that's a good thing. Now, one of the interesting things here, and you've said this, and I'd like to. This is your first ever Skype call, is that correct?
Yes, it
So
is. I repel
you,
technology.
so yeah, so and we had a few technological hiccups at the start. Now, I don't blame you for that, Tina.
Are you
Um,
sure?
no, but it's interesting. The other thing you told me is that you're quite an introvert, and
Yeah.
I would say that it's quite interesting because obviously here we are talking about your books, and I would say the listeners are sitting there saying, Tina's not an introvert. She's happy. She's talking away and all this sort of stuff. So is that
Yeah.
is that is that like that? Like when you're in other company, you feel quite introverted, but when you're with your books and the children, it just
Yeah.
brings you out. Is that what you feel?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's different types of introverts. I think there's something like four different types. But I know the ones that I am, and I'm a social introvert, which is I love people,
Mm,
but only in very small groups. So I'm great one to one. Four or five people at the most in a sort of social setting. And children, it's different because they're not adults; they're
mm,
kids. So I feel like I feel a bit of a kid myself. So I feel like I kind of belong with them in a way. So I feel I can be me. But any more than five people or in a group of adults, and yeah, I clam up.
mm.
I'm terrified. And so that's the sort of social side. But also I'm very much a thinking introvert as well. I love thinking. It's the thing that I probably like to do the most. And of course, when I'm thinking, I like to be on my own. So it's difficult when it, I need to think. It's like eating for me, just and breathing. So if I don't get that time, I kind of suffer really. So
Mm.
and of course, sort of when I need to think, I need to sort of lock myself away. So I guess that I become a bit of a hermit. But I love it. I love being an introvert.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. So
And so,
um,
so talk to me. You've joined the Pond community, which is we are so
yeah,
happy to have you with us. And
thank
so, the Pond community for our listeners is a place where we try and help provide people with calm in the chaos and of
you.
life, where they can think about things and so take that moment to think. So I'm just intrigued, Tina. Where's your pond? What's your pond?
Well, my pond is definitely in my head. I'm such a dreamer, and I remember my mum telling me when I was younger, your head's always in the clouds. You're such a dreamer. That's you've got to snap out of it because there's no place for dreamers in this world. They so, but it's funny because I realized in the last few years there is a place for dreamers, and I think the world needs dreamers. I think the world needs creative people and people that can share their wisdom. And I think with the pond, I at first I wasn't sure because it meant like opening myself up. But it's lovely because I actually put a post up about being an introvert, and I had a couple of replies from some of your members on the pond, and it made me feel so much better, and I feel like it's a place I belong, and that's a really lovely feeling, because everybody is on the same page, and we all want to make a difference in this world and put nature first. So I don't feel stupid anymore because I'm with like-minded people who make what I'm interested in matter. So it's I'm so grateful to be part of the pond.
Yeah, we're pretty happy to have you in there. Now, I think this is the moment for a reading. Would you be able to?
Really?
What don't you reckon? Would you like to
Yeah.
share us
Yes.
something just from one of the
Okay.
books, whichever one you like? Now, before you need
Yes.
to go off and fetch it, but I'm
I just need my glasses because I can't see anything without my
the
glasses.
same. This
Yeah.
is our age, Tina. But so before you do that, just talk me through your plans. You mentioned you've got at least 10 books planned. What are they going to be on? So we've got the Daring Droplets series. Are you going to have more Daring Droplets?
Yes. So the Daring Droplets, because each so I've got 5 different sets of nature, and so basically I've got the water, the flowers and the pollinators, the trees, and also I've got some ocean life in there as well, which I've only literally just decided to put in there because the sea turtles have become endangered. All of them. I've decided to write a story about a sea turtle. So that's coming out next year. So basically, the Daring Droplets, there's 3. There will be 3 in the series at the moment, and they're basically very sort of academic. So you've got sort of the science, the history, and the next one's going to be very literature based when that one comes out. The Willful Wildflowers is very much about Greek mythology. So the 3 books that I will be doing on the Willful Wildflowers reflect that. So the first one, the one that you've seen, is kind of based on the Iliad. And then the next one will be based on the Odyssey. And then the one after that is going to be based on another Greek mythology as well. And then the trees will... well, anyway, I won't give too much away.
No, you got to keep your powder dry. Keep your powder dry.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they're different. Each sort of character are sort of based on different sort of disciplines of the humanities. Really, I suppose is the best way to say it. Yeah.
Okay. And I have to say they're beautifully illustrated. And I see, is it Karina and Judith?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Do you have these people that you work with regularly, or do they?
Yeah, Karina did the first book, the first Daring Droplet
Beautiful.
book. Yes, and she's a real humanitarian, and she's young. She's in her 20s, so I think she really enjoyed the experience of being an illustrator. However, she's literally globe-trotting and helping farmers and doing lots of sort of humanitarian work. So Judith is the next illustrator who's sort of currently doing my books at the moment, and she's wonderful. They're both of them really lovely.
Yeah, beautiful. Did Judith do the Willful Wildflowers?
She did. Yes,
I love the drawings in there. They're very powerful.
Yes,
Fantastic books.
Yes. She's wonderful, and she's doing the sequel to the Wildflowers, which will be out next year, which I say is based or inspired by the Odyssey, and then she's also going to be doing my sea turtle one as well. So I'm really pleased.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what have you got for us? What will you share today?
Oh gosh, oh my goodness, I don't even know where to start. Well, I mean,
I should have given you some warning, but maybe not. Maybe it's better this way.
Yeah, let's. Well, as I said, with not only do I want to teach children about nature and how important it is to us, but there's always other messages in the books as well. So with the wildflowers, it's based on the way in mythology that the Iliad, the Trojan War was started. So basically, the Zeus, basically all the goddesses were going to a wedding, and all of them were invited except for the goddess of mischief. And because she was upset she hadn't been invited, true to her name, she decided that she was going to become mischievous at this wedding. So she throws in a golden apple that says to the fairest. And of course, all the goddesses want to be the fairest. So basically, the three that sort of grabbed hold of the apple were Aphrodite, Athena, and Hera, and they all go off to Zeus to ask him who is the most beautiful. And he's not stupid, he knows if he tells one of them they're the most beautiful, the others will be offended. So he tells them to go and ask a shepherd boy, who turns out to be Paris. And each goddess bribes him so that she could be the most beautiful. So I can't remember, Athena bribes him with being always known to be a hero, etc. But Aphrodite wins, saying that she will give him the most beautiful woman in the world, which at the time was Helen of Troy. And of course, that's how the Iliad starts. Oh. So the book is very much about beauty. And these wildflowers all go on a journey to find out which one of them is the most beautiful. So as well as just teaching children about nature, it also teaches them about self-acceptance as well, which I think is a lovely thing at this age. But I'll just read you a little bit of that page.
That'd be great. Thank you. Okay.
Take pride in your individuality, the wise owl continued. Each one of you is unique, and that is what makes you special. Never forget how important you all are. You endure harsh weather and strong winds to help the pollinators survive. He stopped for a moment to reflect on the situation. My final answer to your question is that you are all beautiful in your own different ways, for the simple reason that the world needs you all for your differences. When you learn to be proud of who you are, then and only then will you be at your most radiant.
Beautiful.
And it's just, and I just think that's a lovely message for children these days, because they're so sort of motivated by beauty, and sometimes it's good to know that actually beauty comes from the inside.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
I love that. That was a beautiful way to finish up the book, because the whole story had revolved around. I can't remember the name of the one that was not in the group, the one making mischief.
Yeah, Daisy, because they said
that's right.
Daisy. Yeah, she was so she's the mischievous goddess.
She was the mischievous goddess that had thrown the question, and the other three were convinced that they were the most beautiful. And
absolutely.
And the wise owl at the end saying, well, you're all beautiful in your own way, and we all need you. And I thought, what a great message for children to understand that it doesn't matter their shape, their skin colour, whatever, their hair, it doesn't matter. You're all beautiful. And I just thought that was an exceptional message. And I imagine the kids just get this warm glow and walk 2 inches taller when they go home that evening after you've been to the school.
Yes, and I love that, and I love the letters that I get from from children saying, "Oh, I'm just as beautiful as my best friend," or the girls were horrible to me at school today, but I know I'm just as beautiful as they are." And so it's really lovely. And also because Daisy, the mischievous character in the book, she doesn't know if she's a flower or a wild flower, a weed basically. And her other friends say that she's a weed, she's not a flower. So, and at the end, it's up to her to decide if she wants to be a weed or a wildflower. It doesn't matter, because weeds are beautiful, all flowers are beautiful. So it's, I think it's a really nice story, and also just teaches children that every flower is important to this environment, to our environment. It really doesn't matter. Every flower has a different purpose, whether it's with different pollinators, whether it's with the bees or the butterflies, and the birds. So it just gives them a sort of general knowledge that all nature is important.
Yeah, all nature. Everyone has a place in the ecosystem, right?
Everybody's
got a place at the table.
Yes.
And it's a valued and important place.
Yes, absolutely. Well, yeah, we need to be different. That's the only way we've evolved as a species is by being different.
Right.
You need the dreamers as well as you need the practical people as well. So, we all should work together.
Absolutely right. Well, listen, I'm pretty excited. So we've got the next books coming out.
Yes.
Are they only available in the UK, Tina, or they can be bought on
Well,
Amazon, presumably?
yes, they're on Amazon. I know. See, this is where my technical skills aren't very good. They're on Amazon. And I know that I know there's lots of markets on there. So I know you can buy them in Australia and um, in Europe. But I'm not really sure actually. I tend to sell them on Amazon from my website or from Waterstones online. So that's where I tend to sell them, or when I go to schools and the kids sometimes like to buy a copy as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, what we'll
um,
do when we post the podcast, we'll put the link so that people can find them and buy them because
oh,
I think they're
oh
important. And
gosh, thank you.
yeah, no, I think the little messages that you've got in there
Mm,
beyond the messages about nature are really important for young kids to
yeah,
understand because one of the things that I see so much of in the world is this wicked judgment that people put on each other,
yeah,
and it's and kids actually are
mm,
pretty good at not doing that, but they get to a certain age, and then
yeah,
social media starts.
yeah,
Instagram, you've got to be beautiful, you've got to be this, and
yeah,
you've got all these influences.
yeah,
Hashtag this and all that sort of
mm,
stuff. So that that innocence, that wonderful innocence that children have,
mm,
starts very quickly to be overpowered by ideas of what's beautiful, what's acceptable, what's not
yeah,
acceptable, and how you're going to be a hero, how you're going to be a star, and
yes,
this wonderful inner wisdom that children have sort of quickly gets throttled.
mm,
And I use that word deliberately. I think it really gets throttled, and I think what you're doing is just helping the kids go back to that place where actually they're all beautiful, they're all
yeah,
valued, um,
yeah,
they're wildflowers in their own way, and I just think that's incredibly not just powerful but incredibly important. So I
yes.
think we all need to read your books.
I agree because that because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It really is subjective. So nobody can say that somebody isn't beautiful because somebody will find them beautiful.
Correct.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have evolution. There would be no babies. If everyone just liked one particular look, we all find different things beautiful. I mean, I love daisies. They're my favorite flower, but my best friend hates them.
Hmm.
So he thinks that they are weeds. So a daisy will be beautiful in my eyes,
Mm.
even if it's not beautiful in his eyes. So yes, every single person on this planet possesses beauty.
Yeah.
And that's it's so true. Yeah.
I think it's a great message, and I'm so grateful to you for putting it out there, and also for bringing it here today to share with us. That real joy that I'm feeling joy just being with you, to be honest with you, and
Yeah, yeah.
I
Great.
really do, and you radiate it, and
Mm.
as I say, I think I posted the other day when you put something on the pond community that I'd love to be one of the kids sitting in the room as you
Yeah.
read the stories because I reckon they must just get that positive energy that flows out of you
Uh,
when you're linked up to your books.
they're so lovely. I did another school. I got them all to draw a droplet and create their own droplet, and I just love to see what they come up with because and generally most children come up with the same kind of thing. So you've got one. I think they called their droplet unicorn fairy beautiful droplet, and there was another one that was some kind of like monster Greek god a droplet, and they were all coming up with these incredible names. And then I asked this little boy what his droplet was called, and he said, "Oh, my one's called Dave."
Fantastic.
And he said, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, of course it is."
It's sensational, in fact.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone's different.
everyone's
So
different.
yeah, and yeah, it's great to see. But I can't wait for you to read my next ones because the next wildflower book is, like I say, based on the Odyssey, and I can tell you there's a witch in it. So
Oh, okay.
I'm really really excited about that. And then my turtle story is you know, pulls at the heartstrings a little bit as well, but it's just a really positive message, and I can't wait. I wish I could do all these books in one go and, you know, get them all done, but it takes about a year to do each one, because I'm self-published, so you know, it takes about a year for each one to come out, so I think I'm going to be about 60 by the time I finish.
But that's all right. That gives you a project between now and then.
Yeah, that'll horrify the kids, won't they?
Oh.
When I come in, how old are you? I'm 60.
I'm 108. You should just tell them you're 108.
Yeah,
Why don't you?
I look really good for 108.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hashtag let yourself go.
Yeah.
Well, Tina, look, it's been great talking to you today, and thanks so much for sharing your story and your passion and love for nature and your books and for children. And I love this message that not only is everyone different, everyone's beautiful. And that's how I'm going to think of you I was always thinking of that thing. I mean, we should say to folks that we've had a lot of messages backwards and forwards, but we've never actually spoken to each other.
I know.
So today's our first day, but I feel like I've known you for 464 years.
Me too. I know, me too.
Good on you.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're both dreamers. I think that's probably what it is. I think we connect like that. So
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed on the pond. The pond asks you to put your profession, and I've had a lot of different things on there, but the other day I thought I'm just going to put dreamer.
Yes.
So I think we're probably the two people in there that should have that as our profession, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, wonderful. Good to talk to you, and we'll finish up now. And ladies and gentlemen, Tina Talbot, author of wonderful children's books, the Daring Droplet series and the Willful Wildflower series. More to come, and I do encourage you to find Tina's books wherever you can, because they're great inspiration for you as an adult. They really were for me, but great for kids as well. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you so much. Thank you.